This video covers the new boundary slice tool in FormZ Pro version 10. What I've done in this file is I've scattered a bunch of 3D wall extrusions all over this topographic surface, just really quickly to get a lot of objects in the scene. And underneath here, I have a new boundary that I want to use to define the outer edge of my site plan and all of these objects. And what I'm going to do here is just move it vertically so that you can see it hovering above all the rest. And to give you an idea of how this works, basically it takes the outer edge of this new boundary and it's going to use that to slice all of the objects that it comes in contact with when it is projected all the way through. So using the boundary slice tool here, you can see some of the tool options that are available. So we can keep everything that would be on the inside after the slicing happens. You can choose what layer you want those things to either remain on or go onto. Or you could choose to keep everything on the outside of that slice. And there's some other options in here as well. But we're going to do a quick little exercise here just to show you how it works. So I'm going to again use the pre-pick method to select all of the objects that I want to slice with the boundary. Another way to do that would be to use Command A to select all, or Control A on Windows to select all. And then holding down the Shift key, I can deselect my single boundary surface. So depending on how big your file is and how close your objects are to each other, one of those methods may work better than another to select them. Then I'm going to choose the boundary slice tool. And you can see here now it says it slices all the object types with a surface or a solid and it'll retain the inside or the outside. So I'm going to select the cutting geometry now. And you can see that it actually projects that down and all of the objects that were sliced are now selected. So we'll see that there's several objects inside of the slice that are not selected that just remained unsliced. And there are also several objects on the outside that were not touched by the slicing object. So now I can clean this up by using some area selections with some windows here to grab a bunch of these objects and just get rid of them and clean this up. And we can see that it leaves a very cleanly sliced series of objects in our file. And this is great if you're working with large number of object models where you need to slice through everything very quickly to kind of redefine the outer boundary of your geometry. All right, here's an example of a much larger file, and that includes objects, layers, all kinds of things. And I'm going to zoom out here by choosing another view to give us an overview of the entire site. This model incorporates a focus building in the center, several outbuildings. It also includes roads and hardscape and planners and photovoltaic panels on the roof, all kinds of things. So what I'm going to do is switch over to the shaded work mode. And let's take a look at the layers here just to give you an idea of the size of this model. You can see there's lots of different layers. Let's go ahead and pull the objects out as well, and you can see that there's literally thousands and thousands of objects and groups and all kinds of things in here. So like I said, a much larger file. And if I scroll down to the bottom of my layers, I have a separate object that I've created on a separate layer called Cutting Outline. And all that is a two-dimensional surface is hovering over all of my other objects. And again, we're thinking about this object defining a new outline for my entire project. In this case, I want to use it to slice away everything that's outside of that surface. So we really just focus on the building that's in the middle and kind of create a nice outline around it. And the reason I'm using a circle in this project is just to make it different than the last one. This boundary can literally be any shape that you want. And again, it's going to project perpendicular to the active reference plane to do its slicing. So what we're going to do is look at one more option in the boundary slice tool. So if I go ahead and pull that modify palette open and click on the boundary slice tool, there's one extra option at the very bottom here to process the entire project. And this is a great option to use when you have a really large project with lots of objects and lots of layers because it can process everything even if they're invisible or locked, etc. So I'm going to just click on the pick tool and select the boundary only instead of the objects that I'm going to be doing the slicing with. Then I'm going to click on the boundary slice tool and I'm going to just check the box to process the entire project. Now you have a few options here that are active. And so if you don't want it to process invisible objects, for example, you could uncheck that. Or if you don't want it to process locked objects, you might want to uncheck that. But what I'm going to do is leave all those checked and click Apply to Project. And we can see that it has indeed sliced away everything outside of that circular boundary. And it leaves all of the objects out there that it didn't touch, but those are easy to get rid of and delete if we wanted to. And if I just spin this around, you can see that it has sliced through all of the surfaces and the solids that that circle was touching as a boundary. Now, if I undo that and I don't select that surface ahead of time and I click on the boundary slice tool and I click on process entire project and say apply to project, you'll see that we'll get a dialog that gets thrown onto the screen here that basically tells us that we have to have a cutting object selected in advance. So make sure you do that ahead of time. So again, using the pick tool, select the boundary that you want to be using for the slicing, then click on the boundary slice tool, and then you can process the entire project. And that's how you use the new boundary slice tool in FormZ Pro version 10. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to get notified when new videos are released on this channel, click the subscribe button below and click the notification bell icon to get a notification when new videos are released. See you in the next one.